Good evening. Welcome to Lewiston City Council meeting, Monday, January 25th, 2016. We're going to call this meeting to order. First item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me in saying the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our next item is citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to address the council on agenda items or other items they wish to bring to the attention of the council. Citizens are encouraged to discuss operational issues in advance with the city manager. And in consideration of others wishing to speak, please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. I will say that we have a public hearing tonight. I don't know if we have anybody here to testify on that, but if you're here for the public hearing on the CDBG, please wait until we have that public hearing. That being said,
What's the CDBG?
Community Development Block Grant Program. Do we have any citizen comments?
Mike Lorenz, 458 Crestline Circle Drive. I guess my comments tonight are over this resolution I guess you're supposedly going to vote on tonight on the expansion of the library. I guess I have a few questions about that. I see the library board, wanting to put this rooftop garden on there. And, I guess before you vote on some of this stuff, I guess you really need to know is, is this that old roof even structurally sound to support this thing? And if not, who's footing the bill to reinforce this thing? And I guess the second question is who's going to be responsible to maintain and upkeep this rooftop garden? Is it going to be, they're going to say, oh, we're going to maintain it and then slough it off on the city, which wouldn't surprise me much. Then my main concern is you're going to be putting water up on this roof, and whatever happens if you have a leak and wanders in the library. And if any of you have paid attention last few years, how many floods they've had off and on from our lovely downtown planters into, business basements. I mean, you should be well aware of that fact. And then I guess the other thing is, okay, we're going to do this expansion on the library. So what's the budget going to be? Because I'm sure the librarian's going to come and say, well, we got to hire more people to take care of this top floor. And is anybody thinking about this before you people vote on this thing? Because, regardless of how you feel about this library, this thing was done without voter approval. You can say whatever you want about it, but that's the bottom line. And I think like Clinton said when he left, this is not your money. So I guess you really need, I think before you vote on this thing, I think you really need to take a good look and, make a sound judgment on some of this stuff. It all sounds fine and dandy, but like I said, what's the bottom line on this? What's it going to cost us, for staff and all this other stuff, or the utilities and all this other stuff. They're going to come online when you do this thing. So I said, I think before you vote on this, I think you should really look this over. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ken Cron, 438 Crestline Circle Drive. Basically, same comments as Mike. Just a reminder to you people that the library was voted down twice not to build. And I'm still wondering when the $800,000 is going to be paid back on the loan. And by the time this deal that you're going to vote on tonight is said and done, I think we'll have probably close to $6 million into this building from the library, give or take a few $100,000, I'm sure. So my question is to you, our problem here is we never seem to have money to resurface or pave our streets. And I would bet that this city only has 30% of this city has sidewalks. But we cannot find money for that, but we can certainly come up with over $2.5 million for a library. We expect you people, as our representatives of this city council, to be good stewards of our money, you know, and we expect you to spend it wisely. I think there's a better way to spend that money, especially on our streets and our sidewalks. And that's all we ask, just be good stewards. And if you can find that kind of money buried somewhere, maybe you can build us a new high school on top of that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Okay. We'll move on to public hearings and presentations. Public hearing tonight is the Community Development Block Grant Program Year 2011, 2013, 2014, 2015. These are action plan amendments, reprogramming of funds, and requests for comments. Mr. Bennett?
Thank you. Anya is going to be representing the Community Development Department tonight on this subject.
All right, good evening. I want to apologize, my voice, I'm kind of losing it, so if you can't hear me, let me know, and I'll try and speak up a little louder. As of tonight, there's been a little change. We won't be reprogramming the 2011 funds as they have the awning up, and that was one of their stipulations, was that they needed the awning up today, by today, otherwise the funds would be reprogrammed. So, let's see. So council previously adopted the 2013, 2014, and 2015 action plans allocating funding to specific program areas. All of the funds have not been used or are left over from projects and need to be reprogrammed in order to facilitate their expenditure to meet HUD timeliness requirements. So each year, the city receives approximately $200,000 in Community Development Block Grant, CDBG funds from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. These monies are awarded through a formula allocation by virtue of Lewiston being the population center of an urbanized area of 50,000 or more persons. Lewiston does not compete for the funds, but is obligated to program and spend them in accordance with the HUD requirements. All CDBG funds are programmed in accordance with the citizen participation directives of the adopted consolidated plan. Our plan requires a minimum 30-day public comment period wherein we inform the public of our intentions, invite comments, and then hold a public hearing. The 30-day notice period began 12/21/15 and concluded 1/20/16. In the notice, we described amounts of money that had been programmed for one purpose and our plan to be reprogrammed. And we also included that notice in the agenda packet, which was from 2013. We're going to reprogram the leftover $24,877 from the ADA access ramp and sidewalks project and the $5,000 from neighborhood transit shelters. From 2014, the $20,000 from ADA transition plan, $19,000 from multi-unit residential rehabilitation, $54,000 from ADA access ramp and sidewalks project. And then for 2015, we're going to program the $122,900 to Kinsale Senior Apartment Utilities. In putting forward this proposal to the City Council, staff is attempting to program funds left over from activities that may not be expended in a timely manner toward projects that are immediately ready to fund and will meet needs that had not been previously identified at the time the 2015 action plan was drafted. So as of January 25th, 2016, no public comments have been received in response to the newspaper notice of the hearing for inclusion in this report. So if we receive any comments tonight, we'll include those in the action plan amendments. Staff requests separate motions and votes on each of the revised action plans. So, have any questions?
So you're talking about the 122.9 to the senior apartments. Is that, so the 132.9, is that a balance that's?
The 132 would have been if we had reprogrammed the 2011 funds.
Oh,
But
gotcha.
since they completed their project or they met the the timeline, those funds aren't included in that.
Okay, so this is the balance that's remaining. from
Yeah,
those
the
previous years.
122,900.
Okay.
Tanya?
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to say I do not know where the Kinsdale Senior Apartments, are they up by McGee?
It's on the 900 block of Bryden Avenue. They plan on, Tom Mantrek is planning on constructing an affordable 36-unit
Okay.
senior
Thank
housing
you.
complex.
Thank you, I know where we're talking now, yes, thank you.
It's actually a vacant lot
It's
currently.
a vacant lot, that's why I
But it's,
had a
but
hard
it's
time finding
adjacent,
it.
it's adjacent to Thomas Development's project that's already up there.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Yeah, Councilor Randall.
Some people might be concerned about the fact that ADA funding is being asked to be reassigned to another project. I know Laura has explained to us in the past why that ADA money is being reprogrammed or asked to be reprogrammed. You mind explaining that, Tanya? The reasons why Laura has decided to not use that for ADA?
Let's see, in her, let's see, she, prior, sorry. In the, CDBG is fundamentally a housing program. So in past years, we provided low-interest loans to low and moderate income LMI individuals to rehabilitate their homes. But then they had tightened their, down on the lead-based paint identification. And we've actually spent quite a bit on ADA improvements. But we also have to meet the timeliness requirement on June 1st. And Kinsale is ready to fund, so that way we can get the money expended before our timeliness. Otherwise, we'll lose that funding.
To me, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
I believe, wasn't Laura saying also that HUD put the clamps on where the money was spent, that for ADA, that they had to be for like sidewalks, had to be within low to moderate income neighborhoods?
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons they said they'd reprogram it.
Well, I think we have what the, I don't know all the details on the project, but the project, I know typically they devote a fair amount of the development of the said apartment buildings to, Section 8 and ADA accessible apartments. So I think it's a fine use of reprogramming that portion of the ADA funds.
It's just trying to get it explained to the public so
Sure.
they understand that we're not
You bet.
shortchanging the ADA.
Okay. Any other questions? So we really don't have an applicant. Do we just open the public hearing? Okay. Well, at this time, we'll go ahead and open this public hearing. Don't go too far. Name and address for the record, sir.
Mayor Kleberg, members of the council, Tom Mantrek, Thomas Development. My business address is 413 West Idaho, Suite 200 in Boise. Excellent questions from both council people who asked them, and the minefield that is HUD regulations and ADA is not for the faint of heart, I can tell you. This will be, if we're able to receive this money, we will be going forward with what will be our fourth senior apartment community in Lewiston. All of them have been low and moderate income. You may recall when we extensively remodeled the old Crafted, now called Sea Point Apartments. That is 100% Section 8 senior elderly. So with the completion of Kinsale, we will have about 200 plus units of senior affordable housing in Lewiston. I'm pleased to tell you that they're 100% full with a wait list, and so the demand is burgeoning. Want to introduce Claire Cazaza from our development team. She's been with our group for a long, long time and does her best to keep me out of trouble. We're also pleased to have both Eric Hazeral from Celtic Engineering and Tim Lynch from My Architect as lead design consultants. We had an excellent meeting today with a number of the city staff individuals, and can tell you what I've said before as one who does business in a few different cities and a few different states. The city of Lewiston continues to exemplify itself as promptly processing information, getting questions from staff members. While we don't always agree with them, they're certainly well supported with law and reasoning, and I'd much rather get an answer than we'll think about it for 2 months. So there have been some changes in your staff since last deal we did, but a very, very good city to work with, and I mean that very sincerely. All of the units, in response to this question, all 36 of these units will either be ADA or federal fair housing accessible, as will all of the common areas, the bathroom, the kitchen in the community building, as well as the sidewalk going from the property out to Bryden and back. So we will be utilizing a great deal of the funds for ADA compliance. We expect to start construction the first part of April, and happy to answer any questions you might have, and thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Manschreck. Any questions?
I just have
Yes,
one.
sir.
Would you mind taking just a moment and maybe informing the participants here in the audience and the folks listening why a developer like you will approach projects like this and the advantages for developers, and also the possibility of other developers looking at construction like this? There are significant tax benefits and benefits from the tax code to take on projects like this, and it might be worth just sharing with the public and educating them a little bit for a minute or two.
Only a minute or two?
Well,
Let me take a deep breath. Affordable rental housing has been part of the federal government program since way back in the Roosevelt era. I believe that project-based rental assistance came into being in 1936 as part of basically a New Deal housing stimulus program. So from the mid-1930s till 1986, almost all of the money that the federal government provided for housing was in the form of rental assistance. So that money went to the resident or to the owner of the property. For example, Sea Point is a property that has project-based rental assistance. As one of the many things that were part of the Reagan Tax Act in 1986, the federal government chose to, rather than provide rental assistance, to incentivize developers such as Thomas Development to construct new, or in the case of a Sea Point type property, substantially rehabilitate existing properties, make them more energy efficient, handicap accessible, those sorts of things. The tax benefit associated with financing property post-1986 is the low-income housing tax credit. Many of you may remember the investment tax credit that was available on equipment and agricultural equipment and things like that many years ago. The low-income housing tax credit is similar to that, except for being earned in not just in 1 year. The low-income housing tax credit is earned over a period of 10 years. That credit is sold to a Wells Fargo Bank and a Vista, an Idaho Power, large companies that have both need for tax benefits and, in the case of banks, investment in our apartment communities helps them comply with Community Reinvestment Act provisions. So a great deal of the funds that it takes to construct a Tullamore or construct a Kinsale or renovate a Sea Point come in the form of equity. So the permanent debt on Kinsale will be about 20% of the actual development value. The reason being is that the rents are low, the rent and the operating expenses are just as high as a market rate property, so the net operating income is quite low, services a much smaller portion of the debt. The deal we make, if you will, the development community makes with, in this case, Idaho Housing and Finance Association, is that in return for receiving the low-income housing tax credit, and I'll either say or remind some of the more senior members of council that it's a very competitive process. In Idaho, there are about $4 of application for each dollar of credit available, which is allocated on a per capita basis. Idaho, with a population of a little over 1.6 million, gets about $3.5 million of credit a year. And in the case of Sea Point, the CDBG award that was made to the Sea Point development team was the difference between funding and not funding. That's not the case on Kinsale, but nonetheless, the $122,900 is real money. The Again, the agreement we make with Idaho Housing and Finance Association is to keep the rents and the incomes regulated for a period of 44 years. And it's the business we're in and what we do, and we've built 68 of these, Claire, something like that.
And would you be looking to do further projects in the future in Lewiston? If the
Absolutely.
opportunity came along?
Absolutely.
Is there a
We-
need? There's a need.
With the market study that we had done, Councilman Blakey, showed an immediate demand for age and income restricted, age being 62 and older, of a couple of hundred units. And all of the units, all of the senior units that were surveyed in Lewiston, including the ones that we owned, and this was done about 6 months ago, there were 2 or 3 vacancies. And those are generally move-ins and move-outs. So while Lewiston's population is not in absolute numbers, and the Lewiston-Clarkston MSA population is not growing great in absolute numbers, the aging of this population, because you are a retirement, and having grown up here, I know that, a retirement center for Kamei and Grangeville and all those places. The senior population in the Lewiston-Clarkston MSA is growing pretty robustly. And I see a continued demand for senior housing. And we were, in one of our many meetings today, we were with Dick White, our broker, and looked at another site that we think makes very good sense for another senior development. And we may be here next year, if not the year after. So
Thank you.
probably a lot more than you wanted and a lot less than I can say, but
I
hopefully.
think it's
we
all
had
good information that the
No,
public
it's-
wants to hear.
All right.
Yeah. No,
Any
that's
other
very good.
questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any other questions? Thanks, Mr. Mantrek.
Thank you for your time.
Anybody else that wishes to testify in this public hearing, either for or against? Okay. Well, seeing none, I guess we'll close the public hearing. Now, do we need to take a vote? Okay,
For each year.
for each year. Okay.
The action proposed is just approve the proposed changes to the 2013, 2014, 2015 action plan in separate votes.
So you want a separate vote for each year? Okay.
Sorry.
We all clear on that? I'd entertain a motion to approve reprogramming the CDBG funds from year 2013 to 2015?
15 or 16.
Well, it's listed here as 15.
You want 15 or 16 to go to?
it'll go to 2015. So that's
Okay.
why it's included in the
So moved.
the proposed
Second.
change.
Okay. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0 to 1. Entertain a motion to approve reprogramming the CDBG funds for calendar year 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries 6-0-1. And then basically approving those funds to be put into the 2015. Okay. Entertain a motion to apply those funds from 2013 and 14 to the year 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mantrek.
Thank you very much for your support.
You bet. Okay, now we'll move on to the consent agenda. Do we have anything anybody wants to put into the active agenda from the consent before
Mr.
we
Mayor?
take a motion? Yes.
I'd like to move the, under item B, under consent, of the Library Board Trustees minutes. I'd like to move that to active agenda.
So we'll move Library Board minutes to item I on the active. We have a second? Well, we don't need a second. He just requested it, that's fine. Thank you. Okay, anything else? I'll entertain a motion to read the consent agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Approving the minutes of the December 14th, 2015 regular meeting, December 31st, 2015 special meeting, January 4th, 2016 regular meeting, and the January 11th, 2016 work session. Accepting the minutes of the November 5th and December 3rd, 2015 Historic Preservation Commission and the December 16th, 2015 Parks and Recreation Commission. Approving the reason statement for council's decision in ZNC 15-000004. Approving the reason statement for council's decision in ZNC 15-000005. Approving Resolution 2016-1 by title only. A resolution accepting a public water utility and access easement from the Port of Lewiston. Approving Resolution 2016-3 by title only. A resolution accepting a public utility and access easement from Greystone Holdings LLC and Idaho Limited Liability Company. Approving the first reading of Ordinance 4647 by title only. An ordinance of the City of Lewiston amending Lewiston City Code, Section 21-119, and providing an effective date. And approving the vouchers payable dated December 18th, 2015 through December 31st, 2015 in the amount of $612,387.85 and January 1st, 2016 through January 14th, 2016 in the amount of $1,253,088.11.
Okay, councilors, the consent agenda has been read. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? I just have one question. Because we had a first reading of an ordinance, and it just popped up in my brain when I was going through this. Shouldn't that be on the active?
It's up to council if they want to move it to the active.
Okay. I didn't have a problem with it, but I just thought it was odd that we're,
I think normally ordinances would be under the active, but it's up to council if you
well,
want
it's
to
the
pull
first
it.
reading, so we'll have it back up twice more.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll move on to the active agenda. First item up, Resolution 2016-4, modifying the Normal Hill Residential Parking Permit Program, allowing for the south side of 6th Avenue between 6th Street and 7th Street to opt into the parking program. And I will say that before we take a motion, I received an email today from somebody down at the college, I believe.
Yes.
That they had- And they had requested tabling till they had some representation here, or?
Well, that's not exactly what it said. It said that they just happened to see that it was on the agenda tonight, and that they would like to discuss the program in general, and had some potential changes to the program that they would like to discuss with the council, and inquired as to whether or not this item could be tabled. Did not specifically request that. So we don't know anything more than that, or what the nature is of any of the questions that there might be. This is the first we've heard from the college on this issue over the number of times that we've discussed this previously, so I just don't have any more information than that.
But we did have the support of everybody on the block, I believe.
Yes. I don't
Correct.
know that this action is necessarily tied to what the college's concern or request is about the program overall. But again, I don't know anything more than what I've just told you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Well, I'd entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2016-4.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there discussion? I will say that,
I guess I'd be in favor of
Councilor
tabling it
Johnson.
if there's more information that we need to get from the college. I do know we did have college representation at some of our meetings, and they didn't seem to bring up any objections at that time, but I don't think that there's an immediate need to pass this right away if we can delay it and have some more discussion about it. I'd be in favor of that.
Okay.
Is that a motion?
So I'd move to table it.
Second.
A motion and a second. Councilor Maldonado.
I think you brought up a good point that, all the people in the neighborhood were supportive of it. I think they're really running into problems with parking, and they're the ones that live there, and I think that we could always pass this and talk to the college about it. They also have had 2 or 3 months to come forward and talk to us about it. Suddenly today, they want to change their mind, so we can always revisit this, but I think that the neighborhood really would appreciate us passing this ordinance, or this resolution.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Because we've had active participation from some of the people on that street, so. In fact, I think petition and,
Right, we had a petition
Yeah.
that was signed by most of the folks that live on Mr. Kramer's side of 6th.
yeah.
And notices were put up, right? Yellow notices or something like that?
No.
Did they have to go up in the neighborhood? Is that required?
For a zone
I
change.
don't believe that's a requirement.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, well, so now we have a motion and a second to table.
So we will vote on that one first.
So, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Okay, motion fails 4-2. So back to the original motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay.
I just want to point out, I'm in favor of it. I just feel like we should give the citizens a chance to have some more discussion on it. That's why I voted against.
Okay. Okay, so moving on to item B. Resolution 2016-6. This is approving an amendment to the agreement between the city and Castle Acom Architects for architectural design and services, bidding assistance, and construction administration services. Mr. Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. This resolution is subsequent to the discussion that we had at our last work session where our library director and Mr. Larry Comm from Castle Acom were there to present the proposal for the second phase construction of the library project and presented a preliminary budget. I'm going to address a couple of the questions that were raised during the comments today, just for clarification. With respect to the roof garden, the roof garden is intended to be paid for entirely by the Library Foundation and not by the City of Lewiston. Also, it would go on the newly constructed floor of the new library, and this is more than adequate to withstand the weight of any additional project that would be constructed. In fact, it would be a lot lighter than building a second floor because it'll be an open area with the exception of a small area that would be used as a potential council dais area in the multipurpose room that's proposed as part of the construction. So just thought I would add those two things.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question on that. So on the last page, it talks about $16,000 for construction administration services for the rooftop garden. Is that being paid for by the foundation then?
Who is here tonight for that? Anybody here? Alexa? I'll let Alexa answer that. I don't know the specific answer to that question. While she's on her way, I'll also add that the $800,000 loan that was referred to, that has been, ever since its inception, it's been gradually paid back on an annual basis to reimburse the fund for that loan. So it's being paid back gradually over time with interest.
Thank you, Mayor, Councils. The $16,000, how we broke it up is we intend to design the roof garden. We intend to put it out for bid, but we have not had the Library Foundation come forward with those funds. And so we're just making it a little bit cleaner in separating that the construction administration of the roof garden is completely separate. So yes, the foundation has said that they would pay for the full costs of the roof garden. So construction administration would be included in that. This contract also, I might point out, does not have strategic planning. That part has already been done. That was $31,000, and that was already donated by the foundation. So that work is also not included.
So just so I make sure that I understand you, the city is going to front the cost of the $16,000, and then the foundation is going to pay that money back?
This does not commit the city to do the roof garden or the construction of the roof garden. It's just the same percentage that the architect would be paid if they do administer the construction. So right now we have no funds to pay for the roof garden. The foundation has not donated that. So this is just to design the roof garden and put it out for bid. And then if funds become available, then that would be part of the construction costs, the architect's administration fees.
So who would be paying that?
The foundation has said that they will 100% pay for the roof garden.
Including the $16,000?
Including. They've already paid $30,000 of what was original design work, and that was not included in their pledge of matching funds. So, yes, the foundation would pay for this.
Okay, and that, sorry, just one more question. That also includes the $211,000 in the prior paragraph? Or who's paying for that?
Well, it depends on how you want to articulate that, but $1 million of that is coming from the city and $1 million is coming from the foundation. So
the $500,000 that we approved in last year's budget, is that money coming from that $500,000?
I met with Dan Marsh and the foundation, and our understanding is that the city's funds, the city's $500,000 will be spent, and then the foundation's $500,000 will be spent, and then the foundation's other $500,000 will be spent, and then the city's last $500,000 will be spent, because the project spans 2 fiscal years. So
this dollar amount's included in that number or not?
it's included in the project's budget.
Is it included in last year's budget, the $500,000 that we approved? Is this part of that, or is this extra?
So the architect's fees are heavily weighted up front in terms of design and bidding. So between January and March, they'll be working on the construction documents. And so the way that it's schematic design, design documents, construction documents. So the last portion of construction administration and project closeout are less. So yes, if the city put their $500,000 first, a large portion of that $200,000 would be spent with the city's funds.
And then, so okay, that's fine.
But then the balance of that, plus the $500,000 from the foundation, would be the bulk, that would be the balance of the first year's. So you're talking about basically, it's going to end up being about $780,000. So $500,000 from the library foundation, plus the balance of the $500,000 from the city.
For the rest of this year.
If we're putting it up front, I think that's the concern of some people, is that, that they're asking that we're basically going to be on the hook for the $211,000 for this contract, and then out of that, we budgeted $500,000. So that leaves or 2.8 million, or 280,000, I'm sorry.
So if the city pays more at the beginning of the project, they'll pay less toward the end of the project.
That's kind of the point I was
Yeah.
trying to make.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
One thing that we're going to have to be real careful of is, and I'm sure Dan Marsh is aware of this, is we cannot extend credit to the foundation. That'd be in violation of our Constitution. And so it has to be either foundation money or city money. We can't pay theirs and then them reimburse us, because that's giving them credit, and we can't do that. So
Okay, but there is no theirs. It's all one project. The money's simply being paid for by two separate entities. So we're not loaning them any money. We're just simply going to spend ours, and when it runs out, they're going to spend theirs, and then they're going to spend another $500,000, and then for the very end of the project, we'll spend another $500,000. So in the end, it's a single project. It's just being paid for down the middle by two entities.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Now, the way I understand this is projected costs for the second floor minus the garden is 2.18 million.
Correct.
Okay? Now, the garden, which Alexa was talking about at the last work session, that's 673,000 round figures. Out of that 673,000, does the 211,000 plus the 16,000 come out of that? Or is that going to be added on to the 673,000?
I think what Alexa was saying was that any portion of the construction and design fees that are being charged by Castellacom that are attributable to the work done on the roof garden will be paid for by the Library Foundation, along with the other costs for constructing it.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Blakey.
are you done, Jed?
Yeah.
Along with RJ saying and Jed, it would have been a little cleaner in my mind if we saw this phase 2 broken out to read second floor / roof garden and not had the word "and" in there, so we create some separation there, so we knew that there's a whole separate part to this project that the city does not have a commitment to, and that's the roof garden and the administration charges, design costs. The way it looks is we're kind of obligating ourselves to both, but I understand your argument. I'm stuck in a rock and a hard spot on the project. I want it done. I think it's a wonderful space, and there's a lot to be said for when it is done. There's a concern. The part to me about this that I'm still concerned about is the what if, and I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but the what if part is this, and we front the money to get it started. The project starts going. I understand the foundation has well over half the money raised, close to, if I'm correct, right?
I wouldn't speak to the foundation's position, but they've agreed to pledge dollar for dollar.
No, I fully understand that. They agree, but it's the what if and where the city gets stuck if all of a sudden we're down into the third year of this project and fundraising doesn't go as well as expected, and we have an unfinished project, which is fine. It can stay unfinished. There's no reason why a project can't stay unfinished for a period of time until the foundation was able to get the rest of their money. I guess I feel more comfortable if it was all in the pot today, waiting, and there it was. There was the money sitting today. We got the city money sitting over here. Let's go forward and show all the citizens that the money is all there and ready to come. And like Jed says, we are kind of lending. We're not lending. I understand we're not lending. We're fronting, and there's a difference.
No, that's not correct either.
Okay, correct.
We're simply spending funds at the beginning of the project. We're not, and then when those funds are expended, then funds will be expended from monies that are provided by the foundation.
But it is fair to say there always is the possibility that if the amount of money was not raised, that has to be raised to finish the project could sit unfinished.
It could.
Yeah.
Well,
Sure.
If I can maybe comment a little bit about the first round, because we are sort of midway in one project, the whole project. Your concern gave me heartburn more times last time, because when we started the project last time, we didn't have the money for the roof, or for the skylight. We didn't have the money for the staircase. We didn't have the money for the exterior painting. We didn't have the money for the awning. We didn't have any money for the second floor landing. When we started the project, we started and scoped it very small, and then we fundraised and had alternates that we added into the project as we move forward and we gained funds. And so I think, the architect, the foundation, the library board, we've all talked about how to do that strategically again. And so there are some pieces that we're planning as alternates, that if the bid, which is an estimate, it's always an estimate until you open the bids, until we get that back and we can see and we can add in based on how much money we have at that time. We can also write into the alternates that we ask them to hold their price for 45 days. So that gives the foundation, again, more time to raise funds. And that's what happened last time. They said, we have this opportunity to do this. We need this much money to do it. And this community is incredibly generous, and they came through time after time after time. And so I hear what you're saying, but I think just in terms of how we're going to bid the project and some alternates that might give us a little bit of a cushion and might give the foundation additional time to raise funds.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Randall.
I know I'd be a lot more at ease of it if this amendment said specifically that foundation money will pay off any debts owed on this amendment.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor
I agree
Johnson.
with both Councilor Blakey's comments and Councilor Randall. Also, I have some concerns about when we passed our budget for the $500,000. Back then, I very clearly remember us talking about a council chambers, and this $2.18 million quote does not include a council chambers. Is that correct?
It includes,
It includes a 250-person meeting room,
yeah,
and so
includes the meeting room.
it does the addition, that sort of bump out onto the roof garden that adds 5,000 square feet, which was a fairly recent design development. It does not include that, but it does include the 250-person meeting room.
Right.
It also includes a very large adjacent private room.
There's a
board
meeting room, but as it stands, we wouldn't be able to have our council meetings there until we spent even more money to have it.
oh no, that's not true. It's big
Yeah,
enough to
that's-
hold.
It'd be fully ready.
Yeah, it's big enough
Yeah.
to do it as it is. That's just,
Bigger than this.
it's very big.
No, not the size of it. I'm talking about the technology and everything, the studio, in order to do our recordings and everything. That's not all included
Well,
in this
anything
number.
that goes into the main room can be used by the council for holding its meetings. It's just the extra piece is part of the roof garden project. So it's more of an aesthetic feature, really, than it is an essential feature of the meeting room. It was just, as Alexis said, it was something that came up late in the design, as it would be a nice extra piece to be able to put into the project.
So even if the roof garden never gets built, we'll definitely be able to hold our council meetings there.
We could, sure,
Okay.
yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor
In
Blakey.
all of this discussion, I don't want to get hung up on the roof garden. To me, that's icing on the cake. Let's concentrate on the interior of the building and the ice. I want to concentrate on the building itself, and I obviously don't want to get caught up in that discussion. I think because it drags us down a rabbit hole. I think focus on the building. Do we got to get it done? How we get it done? My preference is make sure we got the money in the bank. And then as far as city council goes, Mr. Lorenz brought up a point that's got to be talked about. There is always going to be the additional cost of once we get it up to make it functional. And that's another $500,000 number that's out there that might be gotten through fundraising, donations, but ultimately the council is probably going to be asked for some dollar amount, $100,000, $200,000 for equipment to put in that facility. And also down the road, keep in mind, we will be looking at an increase in staffing. It's going to take a minimum of 2 people to operate the upstairs, or we're looking at cutback in the hours of the operation of the library, and I don't want to see that. I really like the way the library is open and the hours that it's open, and I'd be if it happens on my term here, I'd be an unhappy camper if we cut back the hours of the operation of the library to satisfy the operation of upstairs. That would make me very unhappy.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Randall.
I disagree with you, Counselor. One of the things is we have to keep in mind too is the taxpayer's pocketbook, and they might not be ready. Obviously, there's a lot of people out there that don't feel they're ready because of their past votes, that they're ready to put out that extra money. So if we ended up having to raise taxes because of trying to meet both obligations, I think we're going to have some really upset people. And so I feel that that's a possibility we just might have to look at. We'd have to just decide whether we want to do the whole second floor, and I'm including the roof garden, or if we're going to be willing to sit back and do it in phases as affordable so that we don't have to raise taxes.
If you remember, that actually was a comment that I brought up in the work session, that we may want to look, instead of looking at it as a total project, we may want to look at that as a segmented project, and that it doesn't all get done in one swoop. It gets done in affordable steps. But to get there, we've got to get some architectural work done, and which will give us the ability to get some bids to find out if the next step is do the project in a swoop, maybe only do the east end of the project, and the west end of the project waits until further money is raised and/or the costs are adjusted. I mean, the bathroom was one good example. It ended up costing more than was originally anticipated. In an old building like that, you're always going to be running into, twists and turns you weren't planning on. So it is possible we do look at segmenting that project.
Pro Tem.
Mr. Mayor, and I just need a little bit of clarification, and I'm not trying to read RJ's mind here, but we did talk about at the work session a 20 to 30% value of the completion price of 2.1 million was going to be $500,000 or $600,000 to have all of the equipment, materials, tables, whatever it might be, in order for that second floor to be usable. Am I mistaken on that? Wasn't that a question that was asked?
We discussed it.
Yeah.
So RJ's question about meeting space upstairs, isn't that part of that piece in order for us to have meetings upstairs? I guess that's my question, is it usable space without that $500,000 or $600,000, which would include the council
Well,
area?
you'd be sitting on the floor, I would think.
Yeah, that's, I suppose we could still meet, but
Bring your own chair.
I can do that. I don't want to do that.
That's another.
I guess I'm asking for clarification on that.
Just specifically, we have 100 stacking chairs that we've purchased for large programs that we've already had in our facility, and so we do have 100 chairs currently, or even maybe a little more, 125 chairs.
Which would fill this room. Well, I guess from where I'm at, and I understand everybody's concern, and I have concerns too, but what we're really back to is an amendment to the professional services agreement that we have with Castle Con. Do we want to entertain the idea, and, there is a limit on this amount, okay? It says shall not may, not won't, but shall not exceed the amount. So if we're going to be serious about remodeling the upstairs and making it functional, at this time, I don't have any problem with that dollar amount. And like I said, everybody's saying, like Councilor Blakey's saying, okay, what if it goes on for 3 or 4 years? We saw what happened, maybe some people didn't pay attention, but there were a lot of pledges for the All Saints Catholic Church. A lot of pledges. And they went through with the construction. And the market tanked. And guess what? They didn't have any pledges. There's a bunch of people that didn't have the money. So they built that church. Mr. Davies probably knows a little more about it than I do, but they built that church and incurred some debt out of the Archdiocese in Boise. That'd be my concern with this too. So we get started on this thing, and something does happen with the market, and Library Foundation people don't have the money left, so are we still obligated? I guess, you know, we've budgeted $500,000 for 2 years for this project, and that can be used up pretty quick, and we'd have something up there. I got to believe that on the, I guess, not the east side, but the north side of the building.
Oh, that's right.
Thank
North
you.
side.
Could probably be done. I got to believe it's a big open room with chairs in it and a place for us to sit and have meetings. So from that standpoint, I don't have a problem approving this amendment. Councilor Johnson.
Just to answer to Mayor Pro Tem Collins's point on the meeting room, I pulled up the minutes from the January 11th work session, and it clearly says here, as a matter of clarification, Mr. Bennett explained it will not be the library's responsibility to retrofit the meeting room to accommodate council meetings. Mr. Scott stated he believes the $26,000 the city pays Lewis Clark State College for the use of the library classroom should be sufficient to create a production studio that would seat employees involved in media coverage of the meeting. So that tells me that it would be above the $2.18 million estimate.
Yeah, by 26.
We're taking the $26,000 that we pay in rent for this facility and transferring it over there to
But
pay
it'd be
for it.
a one-shot deal, not an ongoing
Still
obligation.
extra. So it's not included.
Further comments? Councilor Randall.
Well, I still have the objection that it doesn't specifically say where the money's coming from. It says the amounts. But I would say that what it all boils down to is it's going to be coming out of the city's treasury one way or another, whether it's money that's brought to us by the foundation or not. And I don't want this amendment in there without specifically saying, and it will be funded by the Library Foundation. Otherwise, forget it.
So
Hang on a second. Councilor Melanotto.
We could just not approve the funds to build a roof garden when the time comes. I mean, I trust the Library Foundation with everything I got, and I believe they're going to come through with this $1 million. I don't think we've had anything happen in the past that would make us doubt them, and so I'm ready to get this library done, and I'm ready to move on to community park and roads and sidewalks and fire stations and whatnot, so.
I just want
Counsel.
to know if anything is included in the agreement about the Library Foundation, that's not binding on the foundation because they're not a party to this agreement. This agreement is solely between the city and the architects. So including that language would not bind the foundation because they're not a signatory to the agreement.
Okay.
So that raises even more serious questions.
So, Mr. Mayor?
Well, it is a city-owned building.
Yeah.
Yes. Councilor Blakey.
Hypothetically, is it possible, instead of us fronting this money, could not the foundation cover the cost of the architectural work?
Why?
Well, I'm just asking the question. That's one of these hypothetical questions.
How is this system, this situation right now, any different than the first phase of the library? It's exactly the same concept. It's a partnership between the foundation and the city. The funds were shared, the funds were raised, they were commingled, and then they were spent on the project. Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm still asking the question, though.
No, that's fine.
And it's this discussion there, because that may also help Jed with an objection that you have if the foundation money was put up front and used for the architectural work in lieu of waiting for the city to exhaust their $500,000 and then use foundation money, then use our money, and then the foundation money, just reverse part of that order.
Well, I guess I would just, again, if we're going to explore this, which we are exploring it, and we've already got some plans that have been distributed out, and a presentation made. We've had presentations ad nauseum, and for the history lesson for everybody, this whole project originally started, and I agree with Mr. Cron and Mr. Lorenz, that yes, the bonds were not voted on, okay? And back in 2007, former city manager Jay Kraus came up with the idea. Since we couldn't get a bond passed, the idea was, let's get into a partnership with the foundation. It's been very successful. The city put away $200,000 a year in their capital fund for 5 years, provided the foundation could raise the $1 million. And that was a huge undertaking for any city in this state. And that's what allowed us to go forward with providing a new library. Didn't have to pass a bond, didn't have to raise property taxes, and that's where it all came from. To me, it's a shame not to do something with that upstairs, whether it all gets done at once or not. But what we're fighting over here is an agreement with the architect to provide construction management and the final drawings, going through the bid process and getting it going. We're already here, and if it doesn't make sense, I guess we don't spend the $500,000 this year and next year that we've already allocated in the budget. But
Well, we are
To me-
going to spend a couple $100,000 of the $500,000.
that's correct. Further discussion. Well, I guess at this
Mr.
time,
Mayor?
yes, Councilor Randall.
I make a motion that we not pass Resolution 2016-6.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Well, actually, is that the proper procedure? To not approve? Or should I ask for motion to approve, and then we have more discussion, and then we take a vote?
I don't think it matters either way.
Okay? So we have a motion and a second to not approve Resolution 2016-6. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Can you show hands?
Please.
Show hands. Ayes? Nays? Okay,
So now we're back to the original resolution.
correct.
Yeah.
And I'd entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2016-6.
Mr.
Per,
Mayor,
yes,
this will be my roll call vote because it's a contract.
okay. By roll call vote.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. I guess, no, Councilor Blakey.
By approving it, we'll be able to find out what the project's going to cost. And at least now we have a roadmap in front of us. At that point in time, once we have architectural plans and the ability to bid, we now are working with information. It's very similar to what's going on with the school district and the high school. You know, the big argument there was, what's it going to cost? Let's hire an outside consultant. Let's figure out what it's going to cost to rehab a school versus build a school, and have an engineering tell us that. We're sort of going the same path here. We can't get there unless we have a plan. And so I will support this because it will allow us to have at least some documents that we can use for education, we can use to educate ourselves. And at that point, we still have an option to take a look at and say, we can't afford it all right now. But we'll never know that until we spend the money to figure out what it's going to cost.
And I would agree with that. Since we have our budget roundtable coming up, I think we'll also have some, I'm assuming, some numbers on what everybody would like for their departments, and particularly the library. And then we'll have to butt heads and come up with something that's reasonable, that'll accommodate the needs of the community, but without wiping out gigantic chunks of change either, so.
Mr. Mayor?
We've been
Councilor
told
Johnson.
time and time again that the foundation's going to pay completely for the roof garden, and this contract is between us and the architect, and we're paying $16,000 towards the blueprints for the roof garden, so I'm opposed to this.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. Counselor Blakey.
Could I make a motion? Can I? I'll make a motion to pull that 16,000 in the roof garden from the amendment.
That's the Article 11 basis of compensation.
Yes, and make that put that responsibility on the foundation.
Second.
So that's an amendment to the motion.
Yes.
Okay, are we all clear on that? That'd be the last paragraph above Chapter 3, additional services. Yes, sir.
Question on that, is that possible? Because this agreement is only between us and the architect, so how can we bind the foundation to pay the
Well,
16,000?
we can't. We can just not bind the
Just
city.
be pulling it from this contract and leaving it out.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's what I meant. That's better. That sounds better than what I said.
okay.
And if you did that and it was approved, when the mayor signs it, it should be struck through and initialed by the mayor.
I'm all over it. I can do it right now.
And probably also on attachment A.
Attachment A.
The exhibit A with where it shows the 16,000, the last page.
Yeah, it's just top paragraph right here.
But the fee page. Oh, you don't have that?
We don't have that.
Oh,
We can figure that out.
okay.
But since we're all on board with striking that paragraph.
Well,
We got to vote on it.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
All those, oh,
just a point of clarification.
yes,
That's for the 16,000 only?
Correct.
Not the 211?
correct.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
And just to be precise, I would note that the last sentence, I don't think should be crossed out because it says all other provisions of the agreement.
No, okay.
So it should only be from, in the event that a bid through phase 2.
Got it. You clear on that?
I am.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor of the amendment to the contract, say aye.
Hi.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries 5-1. And now back to the original motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Counselor Johnson.
I'm still opposed to this only because I feel like when we passed the $500,000 for the library budget last year, that we were led to believe that the chambers would be, and the council chambers would be included in the total bid. So I feel like we've been misled in that regard, and so I'll be voting against this.
Okay. I see the spot for the council chambers, and it could be used as this room is used for other functions periodically, but it would be available to the council.
But as our
When we need
minutes documented, it would have to be retrofitted, and we'd have to pay $26,000, the $26,000 that we're spending in rent here in order to make it happen, on top of the total, which I was led to believe that that $500,000 that we approved last summer included that.
Okay. So we're back to the original motion. So all those in favor of approving Resolution 2016-6 by roll call vote?
Maldonado.
Aye.
Blakey.
Aye.
Johnson.
Nay.
Kleber.
Aye.
Collins.
Aye.
Randall.
Nay.
Okay, motion carries 4-2. Thank you, everybody. Robust discussion.
Government work.
Okay, next up, Resolution 2016-9. This is accepting a dedication of right-of-way from Idaho Real Property Development LLC to the city, approving a right-of-way contract between the city and Idaho Real Property Development LLC. By roll call. And we have,
If council would like, I can give just a quick presentation.
please.
Okay. So this is accepting a dedication of right-of-way for 0.243 acres located at the intersection of Thane and Powers. I have a map up on the screen. Thane is here, 14th Street here, and Powers there. The dedication is from Idaho Real Property here at this intersection. There's a large portion here, which is 0.214 acres, and then another small section here that is 0.029 acres. And it's in exchange for frontage improvements on that parcel. If you have any further questions, I can hopefully answer them.
So, which parcel? Frontage improvements on, I'm looking.
On
I'm
the
looking at
parcel that's getting the
drawing here.
dedication here.
Okay.
So basically exchanging curb and
Curb, gutter, and sidewalk in exchange
Okay.
for the right-of-way. Correct.
For the roundabout.
Correct.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2016-9.
I do. May
Yeah.
I ask a question? May I ask a question? When this is all said and done, will this roundabout be about the same size as the one down in Snake River Avenue?
It's a little bit smaller. The one at Snake River Avenue has the slip lanes for the free right turns, and this one will not have those slip lanes. It'll just be a one-lane roundabout. So you have to merge to enter.
So there'll be yields, well, there's yield signs now, but there'll be more yield signs in the end.
Every movement will have to yield to enter it. Whereas now right turns on two of the three legs you do not have to yield for at the Snake River roundabout.
Okay.
Is that because we don't have enough property or
It's not necessary for.
the volume?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So as entertaining a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Is there further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, by roll call?
I'll say aye.
It's a resolution.
It's a contract.
Okay, sorry.
Aye.
Maldonado.
Aye.
Blakey.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kleber.
Aye.
Collins.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 6-0 to 1. Okay, next up is ordinance 4649 for possible third reading and adoption. A joint ordinance of the city and county amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Lewiston area city impact, vesting authority to approve amendments to the text of the zoning ordinance of the Lewiston area of city impact in the Board of the Nez Perce County Commissioners and the Lewiston City Council. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance 4649 for the third time by title only, suspending the rules.
Third reading.
What? Oh, to read first.
Yes.
Thank you. Read for the third
And
third
Mr.
time.
Mayor, can I give
Yes.
the council an update?
Yes,
This is the one that I requested an opinion from the Attorney General,
yes.
and I have not received a response yet.
Okay,
And to my knowledge, the county, I believe they've either not held the first reading or they've only held the first reading
Okay.
because they too are waiting on the opinion from the AG's office.
okay. So we can go ahead and approve it, and if the AG has something different to say, we go back to the drawing board?
Yes, but it is a joint ordinance too, so until Nez Perce County approves it, it won't
Okay.
be effective.
So it's not effective until they approve?
Till they approve and until it's published.
Okay. Counselor Blakey first, and then
Are we going
Johnson.
to say the same thing?
No.
I was going to make a motion to table this until we hear further from the Attorney General's office.
Second.
Do we have to do it to a date certain, or?
No, I don't think so.
What's the county expecting? So I don't have a problem with this.
I think
don't know what the.
once we hear back from if you just say until we receive a response from the Attorney General's office, if you table it until that date, and then when you receive a response, I'll let the council know and we can put it back on the agenda.
Okay. So we clear on that? Mm-hmm. That makes everybody feel better?
Comfortable with that.
Okay. So, we have a motion to table Ordinance 4649, third reading, until we hear back from the Attorney General. Is that a roll call, or is that just a vote?
Just a vote.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0 to table until response. Okay, next one up. Item E, ordinance 4652 for the potential second reading, amending section 34-1 of the Lewiston City Code to exclude transportation network company drivers and services from the purview of Chapter 34. I'll entertain a motion to read for the second time by title only, suspending the rules, ordinance 4652.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Approving the second reading of ordinance 4652 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Lewiston amending section 34-1 of the Lewiston City Code to exclude transportation network company drivers and services from the purview of Chapter 34 and providing an effective date.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. Ordinance 4652 has been read for the second time. Next item up, item F, ordinance 4650, the potential second reading, implementing the council's decision in ZNC 15-000003, declaring that certain real property be removed from the Bryden Avenue Special Planning Area B zone and included in the Bryden Avenue Special Planning Area A zone. I'll entertain a motion to approve or to read for the second time ordinance 4650 by title only, suspending the rules.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there discussion? Just for clarification, this has to deal with the commercial development going on up at the Southgate Plaza. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
4650 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Lewiston implementing the City Council's decision in ZNC 15-000003, declaring that certain real property be removed from the Bryden Avenue Special Planning Area B zone and included in the Bryden Avenue Special Planning Area A zone, amending the official zoning map of the City of Lewiston and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Carrie. Ordinance 4650 has been read for the second time. Next up is item G. This is ordinance 4654 for potential second and third readings and adoption, implementing the council's decision in ZNC 15-000005, declaring that certain real property be removed from the agricultural transitional F2 zone and included in the suburban residential R1 zone. I'll entertain a motion to read for the second time
So moved.
by title only, suspending the rules.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Approving the second reading of ordinance 4654 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Lewiston implementing the City Council's decision in ZNC 15-000005, declaring that certain real property be removed from the agricultural transitional zone and included in the suburban residential zone, amending the official zoning map of the City of Lewiston and providing an effective date.
Okay, Councilors, ordinance 4654 has been read for the second time. I'll entertain a motion to read ordinance 4654 for the third time
So
by
moved.
title only, suspending the rules.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there discussion?
Approving the third reading of ordinance 4654 by title only, suspending the rules. An ordinance of the City of Lewiston implementing the City Council's decision in ZNC 15-000005, declaring that certain real property be removed from the agricultural transitional zone and included in the suburban residential zone, amending the official zoning map of the City of Lewiston and providing an effective date.
Okay, councilors, ordinance 4654 has been read for the third time. I'll entertain by roll call vote.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to also say that I knew the landowner at one time in my past, but no effect on my vote.
Okay. Any other discussion? Do we have a second?
Did we motion?
Did you have a second?
No?
I don't think you had a vote.
I don't think we had a motion.
No, I
Approved,
asked
did
for a
you?
motion to approve by roll call
I
vote.
moved that we approve
And
by
I
roll call.
interrupted and we didn't get
Okay.
that motion yet.
Yeah, it was
There we
you.
Yeah.
I move that we approve by roll call vote.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded.
Maldonado.
Aye.
Blakey.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kleberg.
Aye.
Collins.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries 6-0. Good luck, Mr. Hasfurther. Okay, next up is item H, ordinance 4655 for the first and second readings, potential first and second readings. This is implementing the council's decision in ZNC 15-000004, declaring that certain real property be removed from the Bryden Avenue Special Planning Area A and B zones and included in the general commercial C4 zone. Entertain a motion to read for the first time, ordinance 4655.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Is there a discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Approving-
carries.
Approving the first reading of ordinance 4655 by title only. An ordinance of the City of Lewiston implementing the City Council's decision in ZNC 15-000004, declaring that certain real property be removed from the Bryden Avenue Special Planning Area A and B zones and included in the general commercial zone, amending the official zoning map of the City of Lewiston and providing an effective date.
Okay. Thank you, Carrie. Councilors, ordinance 4655 has been read for the first time. I'll entertain a motion to read ordinance 4655 for the second time by title only, suspending the rules.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Approving the second reading of ordinance 4655 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Lewiston implementing the City Council's decision in ZNC 15-000004. Sorry, I have to.
A lot
4.
of zeros.
Yeah. Declaring that certain real property be removed from the Bryden Avenue Special Planning Area A and B zones and included in the general commercial zone, amending the official zoning map of the City of Lewiston and providing an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Ordinance 4655 has been read for the second time. I anticipate we'll have that February 8th.
Yes.
Okay.
It'll be February.
I see Mr. White is here. Okay, next item up is item I, and this was approving the Lewiston City Library Board of Trustees minutes. And Councilor Randall had asked for that to be pulled. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the Lewiston City Library Board of Trustees regular meeting November 18th, 2015 minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, motion been made and seconded. Discussion.
Yes. I just wanted to say I had requested that the library provide us with minutes and also that Mr. Marsh should, on a quarterly basis, keep us updated on the finances of the library. And I was pleased to see the library minutes. The one thing I did have a question on was on item 5, they've got a note here that says the foundation expressed confidentiality concerns. And I wondered what they would have to keep confidential as far as helping the library. But other than that, that was just my observation on those minutes.
Councilor Maldonado, you were in attendance.
I can kind of speak to that. I think they're very concerned about releasing the amount of money that they have in the bank because it could hamper people could think that they don't need to donate money anymore, but I can't speak on behalf of the board of the foundation. I'm sorry, I don't want to confuse the two. I mean, I think that that's what we've gathered from the president, Marcia Banta, when she has been here, is they just, that's their standing. So, I mean, we could always send Marcia an invitation to come and talk to us.
Well, that might be wise.
That might be wise, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe during a work session or something.
Yeah. Okay. So, we had a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, 6-0. Now, moving on to city councilor comments. Do we have any city councilor comments this evening?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Johnson.
I'd like to request that we have on our next regular session the repeal of the scooter ban at Kiwanis Park.
It's scheduled.
Perfect. Thanks.
Councilor Maldonado.
Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, I'm going to read something really quickly. I was in Boise on Thursday and Friday. I am on a governor's commission for service and volunteerism. We had an awards ceremony. 56 outstanding volunteers from throughout the state were honored as stars Thursday by Lieutenant Governor Brad Little in the Idaho Brightest Stars Awards ceremony in Boise. All nominees were recognized as stars in their communities, and one Brightest Star Volunteer of the Year award was chosen in each category, which consisted of corporation and small business, school, organization, student, senior, and individual. We did have 2 citizens from Lewiston win awards as Brightest Stars. Kara McCann Snyder won the senior, and she did over 1,000 hours of community service here in Lewiston. And also the student Ida Wisnant. She's now up at U of I, but I had just talked to Mr. Bennett about this. She was not able to be down there in Boise to receive the award from the Lieutenant Governor, so hopefully we can present it to her at one of our meetings in the near future.
Great.
So, very nice to see some familiar faces down in Boise win some awards and be recognized for all their hard work.
You bet. Any other council comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Randall.
In our mailbox, we received a letter concerning late payments, and I was wondering if Mr. Bennett could go over the policy that the city has on late payments for utilities.
Sure. Since we've gone to the new billing system, it's worked extremely well, and we've also introduced the online billing components now that both allow you to pay your bill online and to link accounts. If you have more than one account, you can pay them all conveniently online. So it's a very much more citizen-friendly, user-friendly process now to pay a utility bill, although we still have many people who come to City Hall to either drop off a payment in the mailbox outside or come to the counter in City Hall to pay their bill directly. The policy, which is enshrined in our ordinance, is that bills are due on the 15th of the month. They become delinquent on the 20th of the month. And if they're not paid by the 20th, then a late fee is attached to the bill, and that's added into the balance of the bill, and it has to be paid along with the bill. Whether once the delinquency is attached to the bill, then if it's not paid, I don't remember the exact number of dates, then the property goes on the shut-off list, and notices are hung on the doors to show that the water will be shut off if it isn't paid by a certain date. So that's the policy.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? I've got since we have the press here, and it was kind of ironic, I received a letter last Friday from a gentleman, Lowell Jorg, from Stockton, California. Jim Kleberg, Mayor. Good morning. I sure hope this letter brightens your day. I was at an antique shop here and found this old, circa 1924 picture card of your beautiful Lewis Clark Hotel. It's an old-time classic for sure, so I thought to myself, by golly, I'll send it back home where it can be appreciated. Our heritage is important to all of us. Lots of changes, too, over the years, I suppose. Enlarged and posted will cause some nice conversation. Well, I gave $3 for it, so if you want it for $4 or $5, well, I'm sure that's okay. So apparently you would like to be reimbursed for this, and I'll show this to the camera. Throw on a little postage if you want to. My wife says if I hear from you, I'll have to take her to lunch. I'm 87 years old and still going strong. I like to call my little hobby a redistribution of happiness. Our world sure needs it. Thank you, and et cetera. So this is the postcard, and there's some writing on there, but the thing that was interesting is the 1 cent postage stamp, and it actually was sent from Lewiston on June 2nd in 1924, which is 2 years after the hotel opened. And Joel, that was a really nice article you wrote. I'm going to cut it out and send it with a City of Lewiston check for $5 to the gentleman so that he can be made whole. Hopefully he can afford lunch for his wife. But I got a big kick out of it. It all happened in one weekend.
Pretty good return on his investment.
Yeah. Not bad.
That 1 cent stamp might be even more.
Other than that, I don't have anything else to say. Mr. Bennett?
Any other members of the council? No? No, just to note, our next meeting is going to be on the 1st of February. That'll be our work session. And I sent out a notification to the council today saying that we're going to mix up, I think, some of the items that we're going to put on there and put those off until March so that we can talk about a couple of more pressing things like the Station 4 fire station and the proposed ARF truck fire station at the airport. So that'll be probably one of the main focuses of the discussion on that day, along with we're getting ready for the recruitment of our public information officer position. And Mr. Davis would like to give you an update on the IRRP project in downtown. So that's the plan for February 1.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
And have we rescheduled the roundtable officially yet, or is that we're still looking at a date?
We are still looking at a date. We're trying like heck to find a date where Councilor Johnson can attend. He's worked hard to try and find a way to get here, and so we're going to see what we can do so we can get everybody there this year. That would be great.
That would be nice. Okay, advisory board and commission appointments. Do we have any this evening? I see that Mr. Nacarado has submitted his resignation from chair of the Transportation Advisory Committee, and I think what we'll probably do, because I did bring that list of committees that we're on, I kind of ran into a little bit of a potential snag because I wanted to participate in the MPO. I might have to work that out with somebody, and maybe I could do TAC and somebody else could do MPO, because that's going to conflict with ongoing meetings that I have on Wednesdays, so at my place of employment. So we'll go over those again when we've got the whole council. Hopefully everybody will be there on Monday and we can kind of finish that up. Work session agenda topics, I think we're full for sure on the first, and we've got, we'll be dealing with condemned buildings or potentially dangerous buildings in March. Okay. Anything else? At this time, I'd entertain a motion to go into executive session by roll call vote under pending litigation, Idaho Code Section 74-201, paren 1, paren F.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Is there discussion?
Maldonado.
Aye.
Blakey.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kleberg.
Aye.
Collins.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Okay. Well, that concludes this portion of our meeting. Thank you, everybody, for participating and coming down and watching on TV. We'll take a 3-minute recess.